Welcome back to Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Mentzel.
We are back for the last episode of the 2022-2023 school year, man. It's been a good ride.
It's been a long journey, but we're finally here at the end of the school year in May, and graduation soon for me and Coy. It's been a long journey to get here, but we're excited. We still have sports yet to talk about this week.
That's true. We've seen a lot of up and downs. From championships to lost championships to a lot. But
Sioux Falls, Frisco, it's been a long journey.
Yep. Moving on to starting with Bison baseball. They had a huge weekend. They played Western Illinois this past weekend and got the sweep. Crazy. 44 runs and held Western Illinois to this 6 runs the entire 3-game series.
Getting that sweep and domination is an understatement. They won each game by at least 10 runs, and in the last game, it almost felt more like a football score than a baseball score.
Right. Starting with Friday, they took the first game 10-0 in 8 innings, setting the tone for the rest of the series. The Bison struck first in the third inning with scoring 5 runs. Caden Schwabe sparked the Bison with an RBI, fielder's choice, before James Dunlap hit an RBI single. And then Terrell Huggins capped the inning after hitting a 3 RBI double into left field to make it 5-0.
And things went a little bit quiet until the 8th inning when the Bison racked up another set of 5 runs on 3 hits. Drew Sackett and James Dunlap both smashed 2 RBI singles before Jack Stile pretty much sealed the game with a sacrifice fly into center field to secure the victory at 10-0. And Cade Feeney pitched just a little over 7 innings to give up no runs and giving up only 3 hits this entire game.
Yep, junior James Dunlap led the Bison with 4 hits, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs.
Terrell Huggins had 2 hits and 3 RBIs. Drew Sackett had 2 runs, 1 hit, and 2 RBIs. And Caden Schwabe had 2 runs, 2 hits, and an RBI.
It's just a great way just to start the series. A 10-0 victory. Can't ask for a better start.
Everything was perfect. The pitching was perfect, only giving up 3 hits. You get 5 runs in the first inning. You start off strong. And, starting off strong is a great thing, but can they do it consistently?
Yeah.
Apparently, according to this next game, that answer is yes.
Definitely can. On Saturday, the Bison kept that momentum going, winning 13-3 in 7 innings. They came out scoring 5 runs in the first inning again in this one. Drew Sackett cracked the game open with an RBI double. James Dunlap followed with a 2 RBI triple, and then Huggins flied out before Jack Stile sent 1 home. In the second inning, the Bison racked up 3 more runs, and then in the third, Drew Sackett scored a 2-run home run to make it 10-0.
And then in the 4th inning, Caden Schwabe hit an RBI groundout, and Peter Brookshaw hit a 2-run home run to extend the lead to 13-0. And although Western Illinois scored 3 runs later in the game, the Bison would still be able to end the game in 7 innings with a final score of 13-3. And Tristan Rorich pitched 5 innings and got 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, and only gave up 1 run this entire game.
It's short and sweet. Is that like an understatement in this game?
It kind of has been. The fact that they didn't even play 9 innings in any of these games. It just showed they made this. They wanted to make these games short and sweet. They wanted to end it quickly, and they certainly did by getting those runs early.
Yep. Senior Drew Sackett led the Bison with 3 hits, 4 RBIs, and 3 runs.
James Dunlap had 1 run, 2 hits, and 3 RBIs. Peter Brookshaw had 3 runs, 3 hits, and 2 RBIs. And Caden Schwabe had 3 runs, 2 hits, and an RBI.
And then just when we thought it could not get better, they could not dominate even more.
You think their performances just can't get better. They have already won 2 games by 10 runs. How can they improve upon that?
There's no way they can improve that, right? There's no way they can one-up that.
How about winning a game by 18 runs?
Right? On Sunday, the Bison capped off the series with a huge victory, 21-3 victory. That is crazy. They came out swinging, man, scoring 2 runs in the first inning. In the 4th inning, Western Illinois cut that deficit to 1 after scoring off a sacrifice fly. And then the Bison replied with 4 runs at the bottom of the inning before James Dunlap scored off an error. And then Jack Stile, Davis Hamilton, and Caden Schwabe all had RBI hits to make it 6-1.
And the Bison would be able to extend that lead by scoring 9 runs in the 5th inning. Count them 9 in the 5th inning. And 4 of those points came off of 2 home runs by James Dunlap. 2 home runs from the same batter in the same inning. You do not see that very often.
Yep.
And the Bison kept their feet on the gas as they scored 6 more runs in the 6th inning to put the game out of reach with a 21-3 final score.
Slowly but surely, it seems like in this one.
Yeah, starting out, like you said, it was only 2-1 after 4 innings, and it just seemed like, maybe this is going to be a little bit of a closer game, and those bats just clicked for 3 straight innings. The fact that they got all those runs, they were able to go back through their batting order pretty much over and over again. It showed that they were dominant when it came to hitting, and which they have been all year. They've had a lot of great hitting games, and they just showed it off this weekend.
Definitely. Now check this out. Junior James Dunlap led the Bison with 3 hits, 5 RBIs, and 3 runs.
Caden Schwabe had 2 runs, 2 hits, and 4 RBIs. And Jack Stile also had 4 RBIs along with 2 runs and 3 hits. And Drew Sackett had 3 runs, 2 hits, and 3 RBIs.
I mean, to get into the series, even though Western Illinois isn't a top competitor, it doesn't take away from the Bison's performance, specifically in that last game, 16 hits and 21 runs. Crazy.
No, and this is the kind of thing that Oral Roberts has done to teams all year. They just don't let off the gas. They dominate their opponents from start to finish. They don't keep these games close. And, seeing NDSU do this to any team is just a great sign for the future. I mean, considering that they've already done a great job in the series against Oral Roberts recently, and now they just dominated Western Illinois. And now that Oral Roberts has beat SDSU, they swept them, so now NDSU jumps to second in the conference standings. There is a good chance that NDSU can still win this conference, especially with the conference tournament we talked about coming back up here to Fargo. There is a good chance that this baseball team can win this conference again this year.
Definitely. Big statement, but I agree. On the plate, I mean, everything was clicking. I mean, on the mound, Parker Pitts, Tristan Rorich, and Kate Feeney all had starts in this series, and they only give up 6 hits or less.
Well, that's the question, though. That has been the question. Can the pitching stay consistent?
Yeah.
And this weekend, they definitely did with 2 different pitchers in Rorich and Feeney.
Yeah. And then on Wednesday, they traveled to Lincoln, Nebraska to play the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And the Bison got the dub, 6-5. Division that lost from back in March, the 4-1 loss. So that's good to see.
Yeah, it was very tricky, but the key to this game was starting off strong again. In Western Illinois, they scored 5 runs in the first inning in 2 of those games. They did that again against Nebraska.
Yeah, the Bison came out swinging, scoring 5 runs in the first inning. Drew Sackett came out hitting a 3-run home run. And then Garrett Hill and Webb Bush ended the big inning using RBI sacrifice flies to extend the lead 5-0. And then they came back at the top of the third with Jack Stile scoring off a wild pitch.
But the one thing that was keeping Nebraska in this game was the home run ball.
Yeah.
And Nebraska did that 4 times in this game. They were not going away quietly. They would hit 3 home runs in the next 2 innings to cut the deficit to 6-3. And then there would be no more scores until the bottom of the 9th when Nebraska hit a 2-run home run to make it 6-5. And now you're kind of on the edge of your seat. 1 more home run, this thing is tied. But thankfully, NDSU was able to hang on, put the game away, and win the game 6-5 even after giving up 4 home runs.
Yep, senior Drew Sackett led the Bison with 1 hit, 3 RBIs, and 1 run.
Caden Schwabe had 1 run and 2 hits, and Jack Stile had 2 runs and 1 hit.
So they are now 16-26 overall, 10-5 in the conference. They moved up second in the conference. They're currently in Greeley, Colorado, to face off against Northern Colorado at 3 p.m. The Bears are ranked 5th in the conference, currently 5-10. They recently had a close series with Western Illinois, which the Bison just dominated. However, this team can score, but I think the Bison can get this done 2-1.
I mean, yeah, I definitely think the Bison can, at the very least, win this series. I mean, I kind of want to do what I've been doing with softball these last few weeks and lean towards the sweep because, I mean, they just absolutely decimated Western Illinois. But I'll agree with you, a 2-1 definitely seems like a fair trade-off. There may be a chance that Colorado, if the bats go a little bit silent for NDSU, that Colorado could steal a game here. But, I mean, if NDSU can keep the momentum up with batting that they have these last few games, I think there's no doubt that they could also sweep the series.
I agree. I still got my prediction, though. I gotta get my predictions up. You're beating me in predictions. I got to get mine up. But switching to Bison softball, this past weekend they played rival UND. And they took the series 2-1, and I got my prediction. I finally got it. I think this is my first one the whole year. That's crazy. I'm really down when it comes to our prediction list. But anyways, despite taking the series, the Bison still had a tough one. This was a back and forth matchup in the series.
Yeah, it definitely was. And, I mean, it always is when NDSU plays UND in any sport. And, considering softball, too, we had wondered, UND's kind of towards the bottom of the charts when it comes to conference standings. So we wondered if UND was going to be able to keep up with NDSU, but it definitely proves that rivalries definitely make you stronger, and UND definitely gave NDSU all they could muster in this series.
Yep, in the first game, both teams came out fast. UND scored 2 runs at the top of the first inning. The Bison replied at the bottom of the inning with scoring 3 runs. Freshman Belladine blasted a 3-run home run to take the lead 3-2. The Bison came back in the second inning, scoring another set of 3 runs to make it 6-2.
In the third inning, UND was finally able to get on the board, but NDSU answered back right away very quickly. Chloe Woldriff hit a fly out to bring in a run, and then Emily Baringa hit an RBI double into left field. UND would get 2 more runs in the 6th inning, but it wouldn't be enough to get back into the game as the Bison would get the 8-5 victory.
Yep, just getting into the game. It's crazy. What a way to start in this series, kind of like with baseball, even though it was a close matchup. But it sets a tone. And we harped on this even with football and basketball, when you're going against a rival, no matter what you guys rank in the conference, it's going to be a battle, right? Especially when Fargo, too, is at home, and it's good that they got the dub.
Yep, but in any sport that plays in kind of like a series, like baseball, you definitely want to set the tone for that series because you know you got to play a few more games against this team. So you want to start off on the right foot saying, you know what, all right, we came out and beat them in game one, and we know we can do it now. How do we do it again? We got to keep doing the same things.
Yep, freshman Belladine led the Bison with 1 hit, 3 RBIs, and 1 run.
Emily Baringa had 2 runs, 3 hits, and 2 RBIs. And Carly Gachas had 1s across the board as she had 1 run, 1 hit, and 1 RBI.
In the second game, the Bison kept the pressure on UND, beating them 4-2. The Bison took the lead in the first inning after Belladine hit an RBI. UND came back in the third, tying it up 1-1 after an RBI double.
And then Chloe Woldruff hit an RBI double in the 5th inning to regain the lead for the Bison, and they would continue to extend lead after Belladine hit an RBI single in the 6th, and she would later score on a wild pitch in that same inning to make it 4-1. UND would hit an RBI single in the 7th inning, but the Bison would still get out of there with a close 4-2 victory.
Belladine sparked the Bison with 2 hits, 2 RBIs, and 1 run.
Chloe Woldruff had 1 hit for 1 RBI.
And then on Sunday, unfortunately, you didn't get your prediction. You were going for the sweep, but the Bison couldn't get it done. They lost 4-3. We were at this game. The wins were crazy. I mean, we saw errors left and right just because of the wind.
Yeah, it was so unpredictable for balls that were up in the air to figure out how you're going to catch them. There were like at least 3 or 4 drops in this game, and yeah, the wind was definitely a factor in this game. And I think it was a factor for pitching too, because there was a few players that got hit by pitches. There was a lot of walks in this game, so it definitely was a factor in this game.
Yeah, the Bison jumped out to a 1-0 lead during the bottom of the 2nd inning after Emily Baringa hit an RBI single. UND replied at the top of the 3rd inning with an RBI single of their own.
And then things would heat up in the 6th inning as UND would hit an RBI single and a 2 RBI double to take a 4-1 lead. But the Bison would answer right away in the bottom of the inning thanks to a 2 RBI single by Carly Gachas. And the Bison would have a chance to win that game at the bottom of the 7th, but a potential walk-off hit was barely caught by UND's right fielder to end the game. They were probably about a few inches away because it was right at the edge of her glove from possibly winning this series in a walk-off or sweeping the series in a walk-off fashion.
Right. Carly, speaking of hers, Carly Gachas finished the game with 1 hit and 2 RBIs.
Emily Baringa had 1 run, 2 hits, and an RBI.
To get into the series, this series, it could have went either way. I mean, I think it just came down to execution. The Bison did really good at the plate, probably saved them from game 2. But however, in the last game, they gave up 10 hits, and that ultimately was a big factor in why they lost in that last game.
Yeah, unfortunately so. And I mean, you give up those kind of hits, and unfortunately, the hitting for the Bison just wasn't exactly there either this weekend. It was kind of inconsistent. It wasn't a lot of normally sometimes you see with the softball team when they get a run to come in, they just get some momentum and continue to bring in the runs. There was none of that. They had a couple of RBI hits that brought in runs, but after that, it was just not much else in any of those innings. And then meanwhile, they are currently they currently just ended their first game in the series against Omaha, which unfortunately they lost that game 7-1. Omaha, and this is an important series for this NDSU softball team because the winner of this series most likely secures 2nd place for the tournament. Behind SCSU.
We know this is a tough series. Omaha is 2nd in the conference with SCSU still taking that number 1 spot. So they got to win this series just for that momentum going in, like you said, to the Summer League tournament. So what do you think? What is your predictions looking ahead? They lost the first game. Can they come back and take the last 2 games?
The hitting definitely has to recover. I mean, even in like the UND series, it just wasn't exactly there like we normally see it. So the hitting definitely has to get better. And again, unfortunately, it seems like pitching is just a little inconsistent as of late. It was definitely the Bison's strong suit towards the beginning of the season, but there's been some games lately where it's kind of been hindering them. So they got to try to figure out, how can they get consistency in pitching and in hitting.
I'd say you got to take the good with the bad before. Like you said, pitching was up to par, but the batting department was down, and now Belladine has peaked, I think, at this part of the season. Even Gachas. But I think, pitching, they're definitely going to have to put some work in at the mound.
And extra notes for this game, too, that just ended. NDSU had a 1-0 lead in the 4th inning after Zoe King had a RBI single, but Omaha scored all 7 of their runs in the 6th and 7th innings. It just kind of fell apart for the Bison at the end of the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it seems like they're going to have to keep the pressure on when they get up, and they're just going to have to score. Like that's ultimately what it comes down to. Obviously, pitching is a big factor, but I think they're going to have to do good in all phases to take this series.
Yeah, and unfortunately, too, talking about phases in this game, it's like they had Omaha's pitcher had 13 strikeouts against NDSU, and the starting pitcher for NDSU and the one who pitched all game was Paige Vargas.
Yeah.
And she gave up 7 hits, 7 runs, and there was also 2 errors as well.
Yeah, and there's 2 main pitchers. It's her and Lainey Lau. So I don't know if they're going to have to split innings or how that's going to be, but those 2 have to step up in this series. So see what happens.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to. I mean, like we said, this is a very important series to get that second place. I mean, these 2 teams are most likely going to be facing each other in the first round of the Summit League tournament regardless, or eventually at some point in the tournament, not in the first round. But, it definitely gives them a little litmus test to know that, okay, we're going to have to fix some things before we get to the conference tournament.
Yep, so they are now 28-17 overall and 12-6 in the conference. They're still at that 3rd spot. Like you said, currently they're playing against Omaha. Their next game is at 2 p.m. See what happens. Can the Bison overcome Omaha in this series?
Yeah, they're going to have to win both of these games today and tomorrow, and I'll be at the game tomorrow filming. So, I mean, we'll definitely have to see, what Game 2 looks like today, and, hopefully they can win this game and bring that momentum into tomorrow.
Yep. Alrighty, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into Bison track and field, men's golf, and some Bison football updates and some NFL news. Stay tuned.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
My name is Becky Parker, and I'm a news anchor at WDAY-TV. I graduated from NDSU in 2010 with a degree in journalism, broadcasting, and mass communication technologies, and then I had an emphasis on broadcasting. Principles of broadcast production and advanced broadcast production. Those were favorites because they were the most relevant for career experience. You're calling people for interviews, you're writing an article. It doesn't just feel like an assignment, it's like actually doing it. I was the news director for the first full semester of the Bison Information Network. The BIN advisor here was very much invested in me to actually have a career in broadcasting. He helped me get my internship and my first job. The people in NDSU's Department of Communication are really interested and helpful in getting students the connections that they need in order to get a job beyond school.
The NDSU Bookstore, where every true fan and alum goes to get their pride on. Gear up with a variety of high-quality t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and more. Made by top-of-the-line brands like Under Armour, Nike, and CI Sport to help you show off your Bison pride. The NDSU Bookstore has everything you need in your 2 favorite colors, green and gold.
And we're back. We're going to transition to Bison track and field. Both teams competed at the Drake Relays, Kemp Javern Open, and the Ron Manzes Classic this past weekend.
Ooh, that's a mouthful.
Right. These names, man. To get into it, for the men's, Jacob Van Desseldorp, you don't hear that name every day, won the pole vault Clarendon outdoor personal best of just over 5 meters. Jake Arison won the 3,000-meter steeplechase with a time of 9 minutes and 1 second. Josh Knutson won the 400-meter hurdles with a time of 52.71 seconds. Dash, how did the women's do?
Teresa Bollebrook won the 100-meter hurdles, running a personal best of 13.47 seconds. Kendra Kelly, as usual, won the 200-meter dash in 23.51 seconds. Nell Graham won the 400-meter hurdles in a personal best of exactly 1 minute. And freshman Julia Girardi cleared 3.8 meters to win the pole vault.
Get into the series, Dash. How do you think overall the men's and women's, they got like a couple more weeks before they have the Summer League Outdoor Championships.
Yep.
How do you think they're doing currently, to foreshadow what's next to come?
I mean, overall, this team has been built with success for these last, for its entirety, actually. I mean, there's been success in track and field individually throughout its entirety here at NDSU. And, I mean, considering that this year there's been a lot of first-place finishers, I mean, we also still have, people like Kendra Kelly has done a great job this year in women's, like Josh Knutson in men's. He's done a great job this year. And that's only one example. There's been plenty of athletes on both men and women's side who have done amazingly in multiple events.
Yep, and they are currently competing at the NDSU Tune-Up today. It started at 12 p.m., so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, it's good to see that we finally get to use the updated, I guess I should say, outdoor facility. And
Right.
It's good to see that finally get put into use this year.
Yep, and then next week they'll be competing at the Summer League Outdoor Championship, so that will be nice. And let's see if the Bison get some first place finishes, man. I love to see the track and field dominate in those type of competitions, because before, I remember me coming as a freshman, people rarely talked about the track and field, even though they were doing really good first place finishes, like names like Trevor Otterdahl, the Paytons of the world, right? Mainly focused on football, but see what happens. Switching gears to men's golf, they wrapped up their season at the Summit League Championship on Tuesday at the Wilder Ridge Country Club in Lincoln, Nebraska. They placed 4th out of 10 teams. Now, it's not bad, but compared to last year's 2nd out of 10 and before, I believe it was 3rd. Any initial thoughts, Dash?
I mean, it definitely wasn't the greatest tournament that they've had, and certain golfers as well definitely struggled until the final round. And I mean, you'll get more into that in a minute here, but I mean, it definitely wasn't the best start that they had, and they kind of had to play from behind this entire tournament.
Yep. Get into the tournament, Nate Adams and Nate Diesel both led the Bison with scores of 11 over par, finishing tied for 9th overall. Ian Simonik had an impressive final day, which allowed him to climb the leaderboard and finish tied for 12th with a score of 12 over par. Yeah, the teams finished the year with 3 team victories and 7 top 3 finishes. So pretty good overall during the season, but they just couldn't cap it off at the end with that beautiful ending, right?
Yeah, unfortunately not. But overall, like you just said, a great season for this team, and we got a lot of people coming back next year as well.
Yep, that's true. Then switching gears, so Bison football. The draft finished up, and there was the Bison did pretty good. Offensive lineman Cody Mock was taken in the 2nd round with the 48th pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they've been loving him since then.
Absolutely, and he's a good replacement too on the O-line. They lost Donovan Smith this season. Their O-line was so banged up last year, and now Tom Brady's gone as well. So whoever is their quarterback, most likely Baker Mayfield this season, they definitely have to protect him with somebody. And Cody Mock is a great answer to that.
And he will also join former Bison cornerback Josh Hayes, who transferred to Kansas, the Wildcats. So that'll be nice.
Yep, absolutely. Josh Hayes, he has a great story here at NDSU. Won a championship back in 2019. Went over to Kansas State and became a great player over there as well.
Yep, and then some other signings too, free agent signings. Get into it. Fullback. Sorry about that. Hunter Licky will go to my Dallas Cowboys. He'll be a great addition. That's one player I told you that's a hidden gem in this draft, and we ended up getting him. What are the chances?
Well, everybody was surprised that he wasn't even drafted around here. Like a lot of people expected him to go like 5th or 6th round, and I guess there was only one fullback who was drafted in the entire draft, and that was late in the 7th round. So I guess nobody just really has a need for fullbacks this year, unfortunately.
Yeah. Tight end Noah Gendorf went to Seattle. Offensive lineman Nat Jensen to the Carolina Panthers, and defensive end Spencer Wagee to the San Francisco 49ers. I think Spencer Wagee could be a hidden gem in that draft too. He's pretty good.
Absolutely, and I think injuries kind of hampered him when he was here at NDSU. Same with Noah Gendorf, but hopefully now those injuries are behind him and they can start off their NFL careers great.
Yep, and there was also some mini camp invites. Cornerback Dawson Weber with the Atlanta Falcons, defensive back Michael Tutsi with the Indianapolis Colts, and quarterback Dustin Talbert with the Chicago Bears.
And I also heard too that Talbert is also visiting with the New Orleans Saints pretty soon as well.
Yeah, so those guys were kind of just underrated in the draft. They're really good players. Michael Tutsi, I mean, that's a hard-nosed defensive back, so anybody will be lucky to have them.
And meanwhile, some former NDSU transfers as well are starting to make some news. Defensive back Dom Jones and running back Kobe Johnson have both committed to Colorado State, and cornerback Courtney Eubanks also found a home with Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina.
Those are some good players, Dash. Starters, too, right? Yep. Courtney Eubanks was started on the outside.
Dom Jones was a good rotational safety starter.
Right. So how do you think the Bison has taken some good losses? And they had the most transfers this year alone that they ever had any other season. So why do you think that is? Do you think it's the system, or you think that it's just the way it is now? Kids are transferring the first chance they get, right? Whatever, if they don't get the playing time that they want, or they don't like the coaches leave, or whatever the case may be, they just shoot for the chance.
Yeah, it's pretty much the system now. I mean, players are seeing their best chances, to go to the NFL with possibly bigger teams, bigger recruitment opportunities. So they take that first chance they get with how easy it is to use the transfer portal now.
Yep, and to get up to our teams, the rest of the draft, your Packers, you guys got some new
Yes.
pickups, and especially on our offense, you guys needed that. Especially you guys lost A-Rod, which is going to be good.
Yep.
Do you guys? Okay, number one, get into how you guys did in the draft. Number two, how do you think you're going to do in your respective conference?
I love what we did with offense. We got 3 wide receivers and 2 tight ends in this draft. We got the 2 tight ends, Luke Musgrave from Oregon State and Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State. And then we got wide receivers Jaden Reed from Michigan State, Dontavian Wicks from Virginia. I'm going to love saying that name, Dontavian. And Grant DeBose from Charlotte. So, I mean, we got a lot of young weapons for Jordan Love to play around with. I'm excited to see what this young offense can do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting to see these guys. Nobody's on like big future contracts or anything like that. Everybody's on their rookie contracts. I'm excited to see what this young, hungry offense can produce.
Most people don't like drafting with young players, right? Because a lot of your receivers are young. However, I like it. It's because when you come for college, all you want to do is win, right? There's no contracts in college. Now it's NIL deals, but it's all about winning, right? Winning that championship, winning the conference, whatever it may be, right? I like that. I like the energy because you guys will probably go. Conference is getting kind of harder for you now the Vikings and stuff like that.
Yep,
but
Lions are getting better.
Yeah, Lions are getting better. But I feel like as far as the winning aspect of a young team, it's hard to defeat that spirit. You know what I mean?
And even if it's not a Super Bowl run this year, in the whole Rodgers era, it's always been Super Bowl or bust.
Yep.
This year, I'm not going to think that as much. But, even if we get, not a lot of wins, I'm just excited to see what this offense can do. If it's showing progress, kind of like the 2008 Packers in Rodgers' first year when they only won 6 games, but there was definitely progress to be seen. That's the kind of thing I want to see this year.
Yeah, as far as in the first round, we got Mozzie Smith from Michigan, which is really good in our interior defensive line. We need to upgrade that run defense. Tight end Luke Shoemaker from Michigan.
You wanted Dalton Kincaid,
Yeah,
but you ended up getting Shoemaker.
Yeah, that was in the second round. Round 3, we got linebacker from that Texas. Overshown.
Demarion Overshown.
That's a really good
Yep.
ball player.
Need some help
right
with
there.
Leighton Vander Esch in that linebacking group.
Definitely. Then we got an edge from San Jose State in the 4th. In the 5th, we got an offensive tackle, which we really needed. That's what we really focus on when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. Got that in the 4th and in the 5th, and then we got another pick in the 5th. Cornerback from New Mexico. We need that too. Our secondary can use some help, and we've been doing that even in signings. From
Stephon
Gilmore. Yeah, right. And then in the 6th round,
possibly a good steal.
a very good steal, Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State. I mean, he has dominated in big games in college, and I like his running style.
I think what everybody worries about, though, with him at the NFL level is that he's
Short.
almost too small.
Yeah.
Yeah, not even short. It's just like he's kind of skinny short, too. It's not even like he's Darren Sproles where he's a little bit kind of – but – that can be helped in the NFL with weight management and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That can definitely be changed.
I love that, too. And then we got Hunter Licky to match with that. I think the Cowboys did really good when it came to the backfield. And then we got receiver Jalen Brooks from South Carolina. But we got one more thing to do. You guys, Dash and our production guy, Coy, you guys are seniors. You guys will be out of here. This is our last episode. For the behalf of my heart, I loved working with y'all for the past 2.5 years. I mean, it's been a wild ride.
Absolutely. And I remember when I came back to BIN in the spring of 2021, and you and Alex had started the show.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to be a part of it, but at the same time, I didn't know if you guys would let me in. I didn't know. I didn't really know anybody too well at that time. And then Alex left to go back to Oklahoma State, and then the spot opened up. You let me come in, and then Coy was already here. So I mean. It has been an absolutely incredible journey. We've had, 2 Summer League basketball championship tournaments that we got to travel to together in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
And Coy and I got to go to Frisco this past year. That was a lot of fun, even though, unfortunately, we didn't win the championship. But, it's been an incredible journey these last 2 years. I have progressed so much. I'm sure Coy has, gotten a lot of experience, a lot of fun times. We've all had a lot of fun here, and this has just been an amazing journey. And, I can't thank you and Coy enough for, this fun ride.
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy ride, man. We've seen a lot, done a lot, produced a lot of content. Our number one goal is just do as much as we can and to make it look as professional as possible, right? And I think we did. We got a lot of good feedback from guys around here from stations, and we did look at Coy, show Coy, look, Coy, come on, I'll show you something. He got the cool glasses on. The last day he had to go out with a bang. He got the cool glasses on.
He said earlier when he put those on that he looks pretty fly.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he knows what that means.
Yeah, man, Coy's been a beauty, man. He's always stuck beside us, man. Anything we needed him to do, can you come to creating shows, him accommodating his classes to come here. He's been a beauty.
One thing I think we forgot about this year too, the awards ceremony as well this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we never would have had that chance if it weren't for things like this.
Yeah.
But with Corey and I leaving next year, you're definitely going to need to fill up these spots because there is no way we cannot have the show again next year with you leading the way. I'm going to be very excited to watch next year back at home, and I'm going to be excited to see what you can do, man.
I get excited. Hey, next level for you, man. I know you graduated, but your journey doesn't stop now, man. Any opportunities after this, attack the world. We both got gifts, and you got to display it. I want to see you up top, man. I know you will.
Hey, if I get a good job somewhere, I'll try to send a little notice to possibly have them look at you.
Right, you can't forget about it. All right, it's been a great
journey,
one.
but this is where the chapter comes to an end.
Yep, I'm Malik Mentzel.
And I'm Dash Mentzel for the final time.
Yep, we'll catch you guys next year. Go Bison.